Welcome to HubSpot Mentors, brought to you by Red Pandas Digital, where we cut through the chaos and help you turn HubSpot into a well-oiled machine. I'm Tasha, and joining me is the ultimate solution seeker, Semih, ready to take on today's big question: should you be using HubSpot's Lead Object? Semih, what say you?
Mate, well, you just gotta wait till the end to figure out if you should use it or not, right? So that's the reason why we're doing this episode.
100%. Well, yeah, like I said, today we're gonna break that lead object down, what it is, why it exists, who it's for, whether you should use it. And, Semih said this to me before we kind of recorded this session. He was like, Tasha, if there's one episode a HubSpot user needs to listen to, it's this one. So what do you think? Is this the only one they need to listen to?
Yes, if you're definitely using the HubSpot the old way, you definitely need to be listening to this, because it's going to change the way you view leads moving forward. So let's jump in straight into it. I think, as always, we start off with all the problems that the current lead setup has. Mm-hmm. So traditionally, lead was managed using a property in HubSpot called lead statuses, right? Yep. So everyone is familiar with lead statuses. And traditionally, the lead statuses was just a property that would go, okay, this contact is a lead. This contact is, an opportunity or a new lead or an existing lead. That was it, right? So, but it became confusing, because what would happen is if you're a technical nerd like how we are with HubSpot, you'll know that you'll get confused at what the lead statuses will do if it's in the life cycle stage, right? So like, okay, it's an opportunity now. So do we need to capture that opportunity status in the lead status as well? So that's where you got confusing a little bit, right? There wasn't a clear separation of line between what lead statuses or statuses was meant to be done.
Exactly.
Right?
You could say like the lead status field, the contact property known as the lead status, it just wasn't built for growth. It couldn't handle a lead moving through and then maybe back and then sitting somewhere for so long. And for years, we kind of hacked job how to make it work for us, but it's just clearly the property itself wasn't built for a scalable, growing database.
Yeah, absolutely. In addition to that as well, like the workflows were messy, and then so like it was overcomplicated because you were trying to compensate with a whole bunch of stuff. You're like, okay, cool. Like when it's a new lead, then how do you capture when it goes into attempting to contact it? So does that mean that you gotta, use the conversation? I know we're getting full too technical now, but the point is the workflow is really complicated to just maybe make something very simple.
What about leads being dumped into a deal pipeline, Semih?
Yes. So that's one of the biggest culprits right now with the portals that are working. So like most of the way the lead status, it lives in the contact object, right? So and then if you want to get rid of the noise, what clients did was literally just create deals. And as we know, deals are meant to be used when you have a dollar figure, right?
Because otherwise it
just does not make sense. So
yes, exactly.
So so if you don't have a dollar figure because you're trying to qualify this person, why is it in the dollar figure place? Why is it in the deal pipeline? So that's why there was this big gap between the lead status and the deal pipeline. Going, how do we handle leads?
Exactly. And I've seen like countless portals where you've got this first deal stage, which is like new lead, and it's like, oh, that's obviously not a new lead. And so that's then in turn turning their pipelines into these really messy, like inaccurate reports on deals, which end up being not providing a lot of value, but then ultimately reporting false metrics to the business. And like we literally just went through an optimization process with a client where they had been for years reporting on too much in their funnel. And it wasn't until we've rolled out this lead object. I know I'm getting ahead of myself here, but we've rolled out this lead object and now they're like, whoa, our deal funnel is actually quite lean and we need to, juice it back up again. But for years they thought it was really juicy, but it was actually because they just had leads in a deal pipeline. So yeah, this prior to the lead object, it was just messy pipelines, bad reporting, definitely a misalignment between marketing and sales, because marketing were trying to use this lead status and they weren't sure how to do the handoff and we didn't know where to put them, and lead status couldn't really track the journey nicely, or the funnel through the movement of becoming a lead to I'm in contact with this lead, I'm qualifying this lead. Oh, yep, this lead's actually an opportunity. So all of those real pain points and problems that we've seen for years.
And just one more thing on that, misalignment with the marketing and stuff, because what you used to report on before was a new contact was considered as a new lead.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what if I message my mate or lawyer or whatever that looks like ends up in my CRM? Is that a new lead? Technically speaking, am I going to sell to them? No.
Yeah.
So then you had to figure out how to deduct those people from your CRM, and so your reporting will get real messy, right?
Yeah.
And hence, that's why I keep saying if there's one episode you need to listen to, I can't stress this enough. This is the episode, because
Mark Semih's words though. He's gonna say that at least 3 or 4 more times in the next couple of episodes. I'll guarantee you.
Just listen to this episode, right? So lead status, fixes that up. Reporting, it affects it, right? How you manage your deal pipeline, it tells you about that. Like, there's so many factors with this one little change that HubSpot made last year, and so it's just been such a. I think they've been rolling it out now, but and the way we get into solutions a little bit later, but the way it's been set up, it is also. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah,
I agree.
Let's not keep the listeners waiting any longer. Let's talk about this solution, this beautiful lead object. Let's talk about what it is and how I can use it and who gets it. So I'll kick it off with, yes, it's a new object. So if you're familiar with HubSpot or software in general, it works in these things called objects, right? So we've had contacts, it's an object. Company is an object. Deal is an object. We now have lead as an object. And so all these different objects, they can associate to each other. I like to use my hands when I talk about this because I feel like it's a nice way to visualize how the software talks, right? The lead object is only available for Sales Pro and Enterprise users. So if you're listening, you need to have a Sales Pro Enterprise subscription at a minimum. And I just want to be really, really clear that the lead object isn't replacing the contact or the deal. It is an addition to. So some people might be thinking, oh, it's another thing. We'll talk about who it's right for in a moment. But the deal object is the lead object is another thing that's being added on to help you really break down that customer journey and understand the stages a person or a company, because a lead can be associated to a person or a company, the stages that they go through prior to becoming a commercial opportunity.
Yeah. Tash, I just want to simplify this a little bit further. Just
Please.
Think about whoever's using HubSpot right now, and if you're using lead status, just think about getting the lead status property and then just blowing it up into like so many different functions within it, right? So now you can use that lead status or the lead object, right? Disregard the lead status, use the lead object to then report on how long it takes you to qualify a lead. Like, this is a big deal, man.
I think your words were, I think the words when we were planning this, Semih, were simply put, the lead object is the lead status on steroids with significantly more functionality. So if you use lead status now on your contact records, and you use it quite religiously, then I think the lead object is definitely a no-brainer for you, Sales Pro Enterprise users, because like what Semih said, it's the lead status, but like completely functionality to break down on it. We can associate tasks, we can automate activities based off of the lead object. It really cuts the noise out of the contacts, and your contacts just becomes your CRM, it's your contacts. And then, we know that a contact can turn into a lead depending on what you sell multiple times, right? And then that lead can turn into a deal. So the lead object allows for that to work.
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception is because it's a different object, the conversations and stuff, you're still recording it under the contact object and the company record, right? So those information is still kept in there. It's not like, I think we're doing a Salesforce to HubSpot, where Salesforce is like, conversation about a lead is kept separately to the conversation about the contact, and then that's then completely different conversation in an object. It's not that way. It's just it's meant to be used like you got your contact object, company object, lead object that sits on top of it, tells the relationship between where those are at the moment. That's it.
Yeah, awesome. No, I love that. I think from what I've seen with when we've rolled it out so far, it's been really good for helping sales outreach type of people, BDM, appointment setters, like those types of roles, prioritize outreach and lead management. So I'm not talking about deals here. We're not talking about deals and like big opportunities. That is a deal pipeline. We are talking about leads. So let's go into Semih, like who should be using the lead object. Who have you seen this roll out for nicely in the past year or so?
Yeah, so if you have a sales, like if you have a sales team and you have someone who is managing sales, right, this is it for you. Because like, and hopefully when we jump to the feature, I'll show you what that looks like. They've got a sales workspace with whole bells and whistles around this lead object. But yeah, it's solely for people that, not solely, but it's ideally designed for people that have sales reps or sales teams, and they're getting leads. They need to qualify the leads, and they're going to keep all that momentum going, right? Other people, when there's a high volume of leads, so like for those people that have like lots of leads coming through the pipeline, they need to qualify them and test them all out, go through a whole bunch of stuff. That's what it's for. What else did I have here?
I reckon, just to kind of echo what you're saying, really. So when you've got a business and they've got like a dedicated sales team, I mentioned before, outreach appointment setters, outbound sales strategists, sales doing like lead qualifying prior to actually going to a deal. I love the idea of the high lead volume. You can still use it if you don't have high lead volume, but this is where, like, we as HubSpot solution strategists, whatever people, we have to make sure that when we recommend like these software solutions or feature solutions to our clients, we need to really understand their processes before we roll something like this out. So we've had this conversation with clients just as recently as 2 months ago, where they're like, "Oh, should we use the lead object?" And we've honestly said, "You guys get like one or two, the big deals, right? Like multi-million-dollar deals. They get these one or two deals a week, maybe a fortnight. It's like, it's not leads. It's not worth it for them. It is another thing. And for these people, I actually recommended, no, keep that in the pipeline, because by the time you're talking to someone, there is some type of interest and engagement there. So I think the high volume is important, or at least if it's not high volume, it's like you're happy to have that clear demarcation between leads and deals, because they're different things in HubSpot, and they're going to be reported on differently as well. So you need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, when you said that, what came to my mind as I was just thinking about where HubSpot was and where HubSpot's trying to go to right now. Because obviously there's a reason why HubSpot's trying to do this, right? Before, HubSpot was known for inbound marketing, inbound solutions. So therefore, it was like, put the content out and people will self-qualify themselves and come through the door, and then they would then, go through, a deal pipeline with a dollar value, right? And that again, HubSpot's still known for that, right? But I think it's also there for people that are trying to do outreach, right? Solely for those people, because like, especially with the dynamic sequences that we talked about a couple of episodes back, and how to embed that into the sales workspace, and having a dedicated sales seat for salespeople, right? It's trying to also be outbound, and I think it's a really good place because it gives the options to allow for multiple businesses with different problems to find the solution in HubSpot that previously was difficult.
Really hard. Like, I've had clients leave HubSpot in the past because this problem couldn't be solved. So before we get into we don't have many, but we've got a few cons and challenges with the lead object, and then we'll do a featured feature. But there is one final point I want to make on the who should use the lead object. So if you're already using HubSpot's lifecycle stage, because not a lot of businesses are, but if you are already using it and you want even more control, so lifecycle stage or lead status, to Semih's point, if you're already using one or two or both of those properties in HubSpot and you want even more control over the customer journey, then I would recommend Lead Object. At least just try it. Sales Pro and Enterprise only, of course, but at least just give it a go. Turn it on. Have a play with it. It's somewhat customizable, and I actually do like the fact that you can't overly customize the key stages of like new, in progress, attempting, and disqualified, and qualified. To me, that makes it like it ring fences businesses to say, no, if you're going to use the lead function, it has to follow these kind of like at least top level categories, which we're not getting too tactical into it today. But Semih, let's talk about the cons and the challenges. Like we've rolled it out a few times now, and we've definitely experiencing some.
You mentioned that if someone's already using lead statuses in HubSpot, then there's going to be some form of infrastructure built behind that, like all the workflows, all the information that's being captured, all the lifecycle stages and stuff. So if you're using lead statuses now, it'll be you do need to take a little step back and think about, do an audit, figure that out, and then go ahead and turn it on if you think it's worthwhile. Because like you can turn it on, test it out by all means, go for it, but I wouldn't recommend you jump in and straight implement it, because then it's going to be like there's conflicting stuff, right? So you got to figure that out.
It'll turn into another thing. And that's like what I was saying before, a common objection we get when we introduce anything new to businesses. It's like, oh, it's another thing. Well, to Semih's point, go ahead, turn it on, and don't do the strategic setup and adoption of it. And then, yes, your sales team and your CRM users are going to be like, I don't use it, I don't understand. Whereas if you follow a process that forces you to set it up properly, make sure that your sales team understand it, they know how it works, they see how it works for them, then you get their buy-in, and then the adoption of this quote unquote other thing actually doesn't even happen. Like it's straight away, they want it because they're like, oh, this is awesome. Yeah. I've been missing this in my life for so long.
So there's obviously it's also not ideal for like really small businesses. If you don't have a lot of volume, then there's no point. Just create a deal, speak to the person, qualify them yourself, create a deal, right? Just use the property, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other things that we started. There was a few other problems that we started coming up with. Is like, for example, you can't import leads into HubSpot
yet.
Yet, quote broker. Yeah. I kind of think it's a good thing, because otherwise, you do need to go through a whole range of stuff, but it's at the end of the day, it is an association style object. So you do need to import into a contact and then bring it that way. What else is there?
It's fairly new. It's a fairly new object in terms of like how old the software is. The lead object itself it's only been around for, I think, live about 12 months, maybe in a beta 12 months before that. So it's still pretty new software if you think about it, and just in general. So because it's new, it's got a limited adoption just worldwide. So we're not seeing as much of knowledge base articles or support or troubleshooting items out there. But hey, if you're an early adopter and you get onto it, you can be one of those ones like us that we're just figuring it out as we go, but then also learning really quickly about the tool and how it works.
And then that's a good point you made, because one of the cons is that there might be like because some of the functions are automated. Like when you attempt, like it just moves through the pipeline like super easily based on conversations and stuff. There might be some you might still be required to create some workflows to then find the gap. So if something's not working, you're like, this lead object. Well, yeah, okay, great. Just create a workflow. You might be able to get around it, and that may be the solution for it. But you just don't know what you don't know, right? So that's one of the cons.
And I'm sure there's more cons, right? I'm sure there's more that we don't know about. But like anything in HubSpot, the system is always growing. It's changing. Your fingers on the pulse with product updates and enhancements to it. So I'm very excited to see where it's going. I'm excited that it's out in general. I've only had very good feedback so far with the rollout of it. So keen to see more automations that come and the seamless use of it. And yeah, guys, if you're thinking about it, if you want to take advantage of it and there's a business need and there's strategic consideration before doing it, then by all means, feel free to reach out, or even just, stay tuned. Semih's going to run us through a featured feature, which is, spoiler alert, the lead object. And then,
that was a big surprise.
We're here. Like, we're here to hear feedback on what other people think of this thing.
Okay, cool. So let's dive straight in without wasting more time. Right now, I'm inside the reports section of HubSpot. There's nothing in there. It's just a clean slate. But so what I want to start backwards. Instead of going to the settings first, I'm going to go into the sales workspace. If you don't know about it, I would highly recommend it. You can still use it. So on the left-hand side, you go to navigation bar. You go into workspaces. You've got a sales workspace. So click into sales workspace. In here, you've got your basically a place where your sales reps can go in and do their thing. And so in here, you can see that you've got the tasks in one place, so they don't need to go into the CRM to look at the task section. You've got your sequences, you've got your guided actions, super useful stuff. Have a look at it, check it out, it's super useful. Now, on the top bar of that, you do have options where you've got your, for example, sales reps. This is my workspace. You can toggle between the two. I've got Tasha here as well. So I can go into a look at her sales workspace as well. Super useful with this function. But then let's go into my workspace, and then in here you've got your leads, deals, schedule, feed tabs at the top there. Now, if you click into your leads option, you'll come up to this stage for the first time. If you haven't done it, it's like, let's set up leads for you. Otherwise, you do still have access to deals. You can see the deals that are under my name. Again, it's a workspace. I'm not running through the workspace function, but it's still useful in there, so play around with it. But let's go into leads. Now, if you go into leads section, you go into set up leads, it will then take you to the settings tab. It will actually open up the leads section, and it will just be like blank, like very, very, very anticlimactic, right? Like, okay, cool. Is that it? Like, that was it, basically, right? Now, what we need to do is set it up in the backend settings of it. So you go into settings tab, and in here, you'll be able to see some of the features that it has. So sales workspace. On the left-hand side, you would go into objects, and then you go into leads. And in here, you have your setup. So one of the most important, options in here is like the lead owner, syncing the lead owner, contact owner together, right? So lead owner, contact owner, company owner sync together, which means that if a lead belongs to someone that's been already speaking with, that setting will automatically be by default turned on. I would highly recommend that you keep it on. If you don't want to, mess up your lead way that the lead status object was being used, then I would highly recommend that you keep it on. There's other settings in there, like you can still customize the lead form, like how it is. And in the pipeline section, this is where you have access to a little bit more. So your new, attempting, connected, qualified, disqualified options in here. And you can see by default, HubSpot's got some automations in there that you don't need to worry about. Like, for example, disqualified reasons, like, whatever that looks like is in there. And then there's also a checkbox here that says if a deal falls into qualified by default, it would then create a new deal for you. So feel free to go ahead through and play around with that. Other new features that why this is such a useful tool is because you can now automatically, without creating a workflow, create a lead when a lead goes into the lead stage, so lifecycle stage. So you can choose that lifecycle stage for whatever that looks like. It could be a sales qualified lead. It could be a marketing qualified lead. Just pick the one that you would use. Obviously have a strategy around it, but that will then automatically create those leads if they do move through the life cycle stages. So plenty of options in there. Now you still have lead tags, so you can identify those returning customers if you want, or inactivity, a whole range of stuff in there. So super useful. And that's it. And there's still, you can customize the views as well in there. So again, plenty of useful spaces. Now, what I want to actually show you is a little quick demo of what I mean by how to create a lead. So you can still create. You got your contacts in here, and then you can still use your lead site if you want. But let's just say, for example, I'm going to click into Lisa's name, and now here I've got Lisa's profile, and I can see that there's a whole bunch of information here, but there's no leads here, right? So I can see that there's a little option on the right hand side that's with an association that has leads. I would go add the association. The contact owner has to be myself first before I do that, because that was a setting that we had. So I'll go save that through. And now that this lead belongs to me, I've got the option to create that lead. If the lead owner was Tasha, for example, I don't have the option, and therefore I need to speak to Tasha saying, "Hey Tasha, someone's interested in you, blah blah blah." You can, again, that would really help you out. Now you got the lead name and then pipeline. You'll select the lead pipeline and then just go ahead and create a lead, and then it's now here, lives on the side with a little bar at the bottom that tells you where it is, right? Super useful function tool, right? Now, where does that live in your workspace? Like I said, if you go into your sales workspace and then click into leads, that lead now lives in there. Now, the cool part, there's a whole range of workflows that what I need to do. So if I was to go into Lisa's name, and then I'm going to be like, hey, I made a phone call with her, and then I'm going to log that call in. I would log that call in. It logs it under the contact object. So I'll log that call. like, hey, FYI, test, whatever that looks like. Let's go create a task and log a call. So now what happens is it automatically moves from new to attempting, right? And vice versa. If it responds back, if you respond back, it goes from attempting to connected, right? Then from connected, you have the choice to qualify or disqualify. So that's the only part that's manual. So think about it. If you're trying to outreach like hundreds of people and you send them a live sequence or something, that will automatically move to connected. If they reach out to you, and you'll know who was able to connect with you or reach out to you, or vice versa. This gives you so much more potential and opportunities available. That's it for now. If you want to look into it a little bit more, feel free to get in touch with us, or we're posting a lot of content around this as well. So feel free to check us out, check other episodes out too. And that's it for the feature part of our HubSpot episodes.
Awesome. Thanks, Semih. Wow, what a super powerful feature the lead object is. That was a really thorough demo. So I really appreciate you taking us through all those bits and pieces. I think if anyone wanted to see a demo on how the lead object is used in HubSpot, that's probably got to be one of the better ones that are out there that I've seen so far. So thank you for taking us through that. That really gave us a nice kind of visual, even though I actually couldn't see your screen, but I could follow along and I was like, oh, I know exactly what he's doing, and the associating. I think some of those pre-built automations are really, really cool as well with the lead object, which again, we haven't been able to use, we haven't had traditionally. So final thoughts and actions on this episode. Should you use the HubSpot lead object? A few questions you can ask yourself. Are you generating too many unqualified contacts? Does your sales team need a structured way to qualify leads? Are your current deal reports being skewed by junk, as in just random unqualified, quote unquote leads, but they're actually deals? Then yes, there's probably a high chance that the lead object will work for you and that you will like it. So if you're using HubSpot's lead object, or you're about to use it, like what Semih was saying, set up yourself a strategic kind of rollout plan. Make sure you've got some good criteria around what qualifies a lead, what's a lead versus a deal versus a contact. Have those very clear definitions. Map that process out. We've had, I think one of our first episodes was on customer journey mapping. A customer journey map would do exactly that for you. We'll link to the show notes a template even for you guys so you can try and do it, because it's really, really helpful. But there is something that, we've seen happen a few times. I think Semih had a really good analogy earlier this week. It was if you, what is it? It's like the GP, you go to a specialist. What was the analogy? Can you remember?
Oh yeah. It's like if you're sick, do you go to your grandmother or do you go to a GP to go speak to? Do you go speak to a doctor around it, right?
That's it.
It's the same thing in here. So if you want to know what if it's for you or if it's not for you, just have a chat to us.
We're the HubSpot doctors.
Just HubSpot doctors.
Kind of, I guess you can say that.
Just in general.
It's the only time I'm ever going to be a doctor, so leave me alone.
Yeah, just speak to, irrespective if you want to come to us or not, that's completely your choice, right? But the point is, go speak to someone that's rolled it out and that has used it, that has figured out all the bugs around it, and then decide if it should be using it. And like I said, if you haven't used lead status before, then jump in there, play around with it, and then figure out if it's for you or not. But yes.
Amazing. Oh, well,
have a chat.
Thank you very much, Semih, for your very insightful knowledge on the lead object in HubSpot. If you're listening, let us know if you're using the HubSpot lead object. Do you think it's unnecessary or do you love it like we do? Drop your thoughts, hit us up on LinkedIn, Insta, on the interwebs, wherever you find us. Thanks for tuning in and we'll see you next time.
See you guys. Take care.